2009 was a life-changing year for me. On the one hand, things were really good. I was living in Chicago, finishing up my doctorate, dating the guy that I knew I would marry. My relationship with God was stronger than ever. I felt God really close. I felt like I was living my life for God. Things were really good. On the other hand, things were very difficult with my mom. She, for several years leading up to this point, was really depressed and, was diagnosed with a bunch of different things. They said bipolar, it was clinical depression, whatever. She was really depressed and she was suicidal. She had actually made a couple of attempts on her life, but never successfully. It got to a point that it consumed me. Despite how great my relationship was with God, I was consumed, constantly fearing that there would actually come a day when my mom would be gone because of her own choice. And that thought consumed me. Every phone call I got, everything I did, that thought was always there. I hadn't heard from her for a few days, which was very strange. And I ended up getting the call from my brother that she had taken her life. So my worst fear had come true. I could never have fathomed how life would go on, how I would be, or how I would get through the days, how painful it would possibly be for me. The crazy thing was, after she died, I was okay. I just felt like the only way I can explain it is that God came and carried me through it. Like I was completely dependent on God and no one else, because I knew that that's the only way I could get through something so devastating to me. And He really was there. I was really sad. I missed her, but God's presence was just so overwhelming that it was just an amazing thing. That strong presence that I felt stayed with me for the next several months. Life was good in a lot of ways. I got engaged. I got married in 2010 in the spring, and a month after I got married, my dad died, and things completely changed. I just didn't get it. Like, I felt so far away from God. I felt like He had just let me go and said, deal with this. I'm not going to carry you through this. And all these emotions that I probably have never even experienced before just came out of me. Like, it was like I was a crazy person. It was like I couldn't stop being angry. I don't know. I just kept asking God to help me, to comfort me, and He just felt like He wasn't there. I didn't know what to make of it because I thought I was at this place with God that I could never feel so hurt and abandoned, because my worst fear had already come true and I had come out okay, and I knew God was there. I felt Him there, and everything was just so confusing, and I questioned everything. Like, was that really God before? Because if that was Him before with my mom, then why don't I feel Him now, and why is He doing this? So here I was, newly married, with all these new emotions and feelings that I'd never felt before. And it just made it really difficult. Everybody pictures, the honeymoon, but I was like, I think I was kind of bitter that I didn't get the honeymoon. I mean, I didn't get the honeymoon before we got married because my mom died, and then I didn't get the honeymoon when we were married because my dad died. And I was just so sad and hurt. 8 months after my dad died, I got pregnant. It was definitely not planned. It was such a blessing, but I had so many mixed emotions around it. I was still dealing with my anger issues. And then you have all the pregnancy hormones on top of it, and all this new kind of eye-opening experience of thinking about being a parent, and then obviously thinking a lot more about your own parents. I was so hurt that she wasn't there for me during this whole thing. You know, like no one else can relate to you during pregnancy the same way that your own mom can. You know, and I would look at all these other girls who are pregnant and they have their moms around. And it just made me, I guess, even more distant from God, even more like this feeling of like, it's not fair. Like, why does it have to be this way? It just felt like a really long road was ahead of me. I was also really sick during the entire pregnancy. You know, I thought I was already angry and frustrated and depressed, and I didn't think I could really get worse, and I got a lot worse. I guess one beautiful thing was that as soon as the baby was born, Kayla, I was so in love. But obviously, too, along with that came just tough emotions once again, seeing how much I loved this child and thinking that there is never anything that I wouldn't do for this child, and how could I ever not take care of this child, and feeling like, well, obviously, I guess my mom didn't feel the same way about me. I mean, I know that mental illness is a real thing, and she really struggled. But in my mind, and I still have trouble separating mental illness from the idea that she made a choice to leave. And that was just something that really got bigger after having a child. Life is still hard. There's still a lot of dark days. I am closer to God, and I am dependent on God. But it's still dark a lot. It's still, I still struggle through stuff a lot, that things are the way they are. But I can see how God has been working. I've learned to focus not so much on hope as a feeling, but hope as just that. I'm gonna go and live with Jesus forever, and there is gonna be no more crying and no more pain and no more suffering. What it means to be a Christian is that you just always have this hope, even when it sounds weird, but even when you feel hopeless, like that hope is just always there, because God is so much bigger than anything that we feel or see. That's for eternity, and that's for forever. And this right now is what the Bible says is just a blink compared to what the rest of our lives in eternity with God. And just kind of like submitting to that idea, or like submitting to that belief has, I guess for me, is how I worship Him.